We've talked about evaluations, we've talked about the rules, we've talked about the preparation, meditation, and now the main contest that we are doing this year, which we just heard about, is from a 3 to 5 minute point of view, is Tall Tales. And one of our past champions is in the room. Terry Mayfield has been a Toastmaster for 267 months. In 2005, he became the 56th person to become an accredited speaker. To date, there's only 66 worldwide. Terry was first paid to speak in 1994, the year he created his own speaking company. In 2003, he retired as a VP of sales at the age of 50. Yes, he's 61 years old, as if you didn't have, just so you didn't have to do the math. And he began speaking full time. He has given more than 1,400 keynotes and seminars on topics including leadership, sales, and personal success. He has been a presenter at 3 Toastmasters International Conferences and winner of District 52's Tall Tales contest in 2012. Here to share how to create a tall tale, please welcome DTM accredited speaker Terry Mayfield.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and fellow Toastmasters, and so many guests here this evening. What a wonderful turnout. If you want to triumph at a contest for Tall Tales, I'm here to share with you one way to do it. Now, I want to say this is my way. It's not the only way, so adapt it, watch other people, and bring in other ideas. But first, I want to define what a tall tale is. Now, a tall tale is a fictional story that stretches the truth. Now, what's a story? A story revolves around a human need. It's about a problem faced and solved. It's the typical, you've gone to the movies, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl. Right? The problem is he loses the girl, problem solved, he gets her. That's all a story is a resolution to a problem. Now, the best way for me to illustrate what a tall tale is I'm going to give you a tall tale that I've given previously, and then I'll break it down as to what I did and how I constructed it. All right? So this tall tale, the title of it is The Rest of the Story. The California Earthquake and Housing Authority advises that we avoid these type of buildings in California. A house of straw, a house of sticks, and a house of bricks. Sound familiar? Okay, what are those houses really?
Three little pigs.
Three little pigs.
3 little pigs, right? And we all know the story of the 3 little pigs. Pig 1, very lazy, only looking out for himself, hastily builds a house out of straw. Along comes the wolf, huff and puff, pork chops are served. Pig number 2, just like his brother, very lazy, only thinking about himself, hastily builds his house out of sticks. Along comes the wolf, huff and puff, pulled pork sliders. Now, pig 3 was a little different than his brothers. He was very hard-working, very industrious, but like his brothers, he was really only looking out for himself when he built that house of bricks. Wolf comes along, no huff, no puff, could knock it down, end of story. Well, there's been some new information that has revealed the rest of the story. Seems that all the wolf did was he just waited outside until pig 3 ran out of supplies. And when pig 3 came out, the wolf dined on swine again. What they also discovered is that there was a 4th pig. But he wasn't like his brothers. He wasn't just looking out for himself. He was a very high-achieving, very self-improvement type of, he was a sales, highly motivated pig. Yes, he was a yuppie. A young urban pig. One day, he got a knock on his door. He opens the door, and who stands there in front of him? The big, bad wolf. Well, fortunately, in his quest for self-improvement, Pig 4 had just come from a seminar on negotiations. And he remembered that to get a win-win outcome in a negotiation, you have to first find out what the other person wants. So Pig 4 begins. Mr. Wolf, I know why you're here, but what is it that you really want? Well, Wolf was taken back by this question. Well, gosh, he says, I am kind of getting tired of pork, and after I eat you, I really want to know is where am I going to get my next meal from? The pig says, follow me. And he leads him up to the top of a hilly knoll, and he looks deep down into a valley, and there, at the bottom of the valley, are hundreds of bleating sheep. Oh, the wolf was salivating. Now, this leads to another story we don't have time for today, the wolf in sheep's clothing. But guess who sold the sheepskin to the wolf? The pig. So in the end, the wolf got what he wanted, endless meals of mutton, and the pig got what he wanted, saved his bacon. Later in his quest for self-improvement, Pig 4 joined Toastmasters. He's down in Porker's district. And he became a very highly paid, highly sought after motivational speaker. Some of you may have heard of him. Pigler? Or maybe you read his book, See You at the Trough. And he travels the world, and this is how he concludes his talks when he talks about the failure of his brothers and his own success. It's plain to see that pigs 1, 2, and 3 only looked out for number 1. And in the end, it was the wolf who enjoyed them all. Well done. But the lesson is this. If you wish to keep your meat on your bone, first find out what the other guy wants. Because the bacon you save may be your own. Thank you very much. Now that's a tall tale. And what makes a tall tale? Again, it's a story that stretches the truth, that I stretch the truth. Yes. Mm-hmm. How you stretch the truth is you add twists. It doesn't have to be a huge twist. Notice there's a lot of subtle twists throughout this story. Now, first you have to establish a story, where we're going. We're starting here, and let's go into the 3 pigs. You all kind of understood that was going. But the first twist was that there was more information. The rest of the story. So there's the first twist. That Pig 3 actually got devoured anyway, and that there was a 4th pig. Then the next twist was that he was different from his other brothers, right? He wasn't just focused on himself. Now, the other way to look at twists, they talk about twists and humor, and in a tall tale, you want to add as much humor as you can, and as you could hear, I heard you laughing, so I had some humor in there. One of the basic ways to create humor is the number 3, if you haven't heard this before. And you set up 2 things which logically set people in this direction, then the third one takes them in a different direction. It twists them in a new direction. And that's all you're doing. You wind up there, people are going to be thinking this way, but you turn it another direction. In one of my talks, I talk about a 10K run, which was a disaster, and I start the talk talking about how the 10K was open to 3 categories: professional athletes, amateur athletes, and fools. See, there's the twist. Professional, amateur going in this direction, fools takes it in a whole different direction and creates the humor. Now the other twist was, I'm sorry, I have to read my notes here. The other twist was that the wolf shows up for 4th pig, just like the other pigs, so that's expected, but the idea that Pig 4 was in self-improvement, he went to a seminar. Now, you weren't expecting that, right? So you're just creating the unexpected. I think another thing when you're doing tall tales is I hear some tall tales, and they make it so far-fetched. I was walking down the street, and a Martian came down. Now, we do suspend our belief. I mean, you just bought into the fact that pigs and wolves talk to each other. But you can take it too far, and you'll lose your audience. So exaggerate, use hyperbole, but don't go too far. You might lose your audience. Then the twist, another twist, he joins Toastmasters. Were you expecting that?
No.
Again, the whole idea of a tall tale is to go someplace that wasn't expected. And then I summarized my talk just like any good Toastmaster talk does, but I happened to use a limerick to do it. So I'm not sure how much time I have. I want to open it if you have any questions. That's kind of my outline of what a tall tale is about.
You get 12 minutes left.
How much?
12 minutes.
12 minutes, perfect. Questions about creating a tall tale?
Talk about the originality, because you are using a story called The Three Pigs, and you did a little bit of something more with it. So tell us about originality and how that applies.
Well, that particular story, how I did that, actually I came up with this years ago when I was going to give a contest that was supposed to be 3 minutes long. And I wanted to put some humor in there, and again, going back to the three, I thought, gosh, I was driving to Mammoth, is where I was, and just out nowhere, so I had a lot of time to think, and I'm going, 3, 3, 3, and I was bringing all the threes to my mind, and I came up with the three little pigs. I probably had some other threes, I can't think of them right now, but I latched onto that. I thought, okay, so there's got to be a twist for humor. What can be a twist? What can I add to it? Add a fourth pig, and kind of from there it just started evolving. So what I started with obviously was a fairy tale. You could start with a fairy tale of your own, and one that everybody knows, like the Three Little Pigs. It could be Rapunzel. And quickly tell the story. Now you saw how quickly I reminded you what the story about the three pigs was. Did I really need to do that? But it kind of emphasized the point, the fact that they were different from that fourth pig. So quickly tell a story like Rapunzel and then come up with a twist.
Does it have to begin with a story that everybody knows?
No, it can be completely made up. But again, the idea of a story identifies a problem and it's resolved. So even if you do the Martians coming down, there's the problem. You know, in some way, why is a Martian coming down after you? What's the problem? Is he going to, zap me with a laser? Is he going to take over the world? Did he just, he needs directions. He was headed to Venus. What was the problem, and then resolve it. Yes.
After you establish the story, do you use any resources to utilize for the twists and the humors from internet or any other place? Or is that something that you create yourself?
I didn't use anything on the internet. I just started looking for and saying, okay, this is what's logical, this is what they're expecting. What would be different?
So it's like creativity, basically, you already have.
So, in other words, I thought, okay, well, the fourth prop, so the one twist was there's a pig. So what could be different about that situation? Again, keeping the story going, the pig has a problem. What's his problem? The wolf's after him. Now, how can he be creative to solve that problem? And he used his negotiation skills. And I just thought, okay, what could he offer the wolf that the wolf would need? Well, once the wolf eats him, there's no more pigs to eat. So where's he going to eat? And it was just a logical sense.
So it's like you ask yourself a question and then you get some answers back.
Exactly. Yes?
You write this down, couple questions. You write this down as you go, and then at what point do you say enough is enough when you finish writing? How many times do you burn through this story, reattaching it?
Oh, gosh. I don't know how many dozens of times. It's interesting because once I write a speech, I pretty much write it verbatim. Not that I want to memorize it, but at that point I start looking at it for the phrasing. The first few times I gave this talk, here's how I started it. I'd say, I started out a house of straw, a house of sticks, a house of bricks. Then I said the California Housing Authority and Earthquake Authority advises us to avoid those type of buildings. And I never got a laugh there. And I thought, okay, I looked at that, I thought that there was some humor there. What do I need to do? And it's when I turned it around and started with the California Housing Authority, because again, there's the twist. You're thinking I'm talking about some houses, some real buildings we have to avoid, and they come up with these silly little buildings. And you obviously knew what it was. So I do a lot of that. Once I see it in writing, I go, okay, why is that not working? Why doesn't that make sense? Sometimes you flip it, sometimes you throw it out. So it is a work. This was not something I sat down and within a week or two and then went out and presented it. It evolved over many years.
Okay, good.
Yes?
Terry, not necessarily on the mechanics of the tall tale, but when you make a selection, if you want to compete, in speaking publicly, you have two choices: tall tale or a motivational speaker. correct?
Mhm.
Now, in your opinion, as an experienced speaker, do you think you have better odds to pick which type, or does it really matter? It all depends on your personality, which one you gravitate to, between Tall Tale or the motivational speech.
Well, if I understand where you're going, Mohammed, the tall tale is really unique to Toastmasters. I don't know anywhere else I can use that
And
speech.
Toastmasters is specific,
Yeah.
because you have two types of
Yeah.
competition, correct? Tall Tale and the motivational
And the
speech.
motivation, which is in the spring.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
So on these two, if you were to pick one, is there any preference, or it does not matter? I mean, which one has?
I think the motivational talk for me is easier, because the tall tale, when you have to throw humor in there, that's the hardest thing there is, to create humor and make people laugh. You can have a motivational talk, no one has to laugh. It's even better if you can have some things in there and they laugh, but you don't have to have humor in them. The tall tales, it's got to be humorous, and I hope you go to contests. I hope all of you go to contests and listen to other tall tales. That's another place really to learn your craft, is to see what other people are doing. I love watching other people because you can learn from what they do right, but I've learned even more from what they've done wrong. And pay attention to what's not working. And the tall tales, there's some that are very tall, but they have zero humor, and I think it's expected to be somewhat humorous.
Is there a video resource where we can see these tall tales consolidated? Is there something that I can go to see more of them, as opposed to just going from meeting to meeting?
Gosh, you know, anymore, just go on YouTube and punch in tall tale, and I'm sure you'll see some, and you'll probably see a lot of examples. I know someone posted mine on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, to see other people, see what they do, how they do it. But I think the key to the tall tale is the twist, and I think it's multiple twists. It's not one great big jerk where you lose everybody in the audience. It's a bunch of little twists. All of a sudden, there's someplace they had no idea where they would be. I mean, at the very beginning, we're talking about Three Little Pigs. Who thought Toastmasters were going to be that? And of course, I added that part so that it would, be relevant to Toastmasters. Timing? How are we doing with time?
You have 5 minutes
Oh,
left.
okay. When I saw Richard walk over.
I thought perhaps if no one has any further questions, because some of the questions you're asking, if we brought John back up for 5 minutes,
Yes.
I bet he could answer that in the ballot. Super. Yeah. Sorry, Mayfield.